clash between Sydney and Melbourne at the SCG. The Swans, after consecutive losses, really fired up to try and improve their situation. They'd started the season so well. Craig Bird named as the sub, still without Adam Goods. Tommy Walsh making his debut, the Irishman, via St Kilda. Taking on Melbourne, who have really had a terrible start under Mark Neeld. They bring back some big names. Liam Jarrah in for his first game of the season. Jack Watts returns along with Brad Green. Bennell named as the sub. So would the changes make any difference here at the SCG today in round 8, 2012? The Demons still to win a game. It's Indigenous round, of course, and that's why Jetta and Davey are in the middle for the toss of the coin. And Paul Roos, who was the coach that day, is with us here in commentary. Roosie, as I said, the expectations were far different about what was happening with the Demons in those days, weren't they?
Yeah, look, I must admit to be surprised as the Swans won the toss. I think Jetta going to the right there. Yeah, I must admit to be surprised as to where they're at the moment, because that day they just completely dismantled us. And most of the players are still on their list.
Yep.
So, look, it is a bit of a shock. I'm sure Demons supporters are shocked as well.
They are, but that's the reality of this season. We all know they've changed their game plan dramatically this year, haven't they, under Mark Neeld? Do you think this ground will actually suit that style of play, Jono?
I think it will. Fourth in long kicks in the competition so far this year, but that is going along the boundary line. I think especially they need to work and get the ball through the middle of the ground, win that hardness in the middle, get their clearances up, get their stoppage work right, so they can give their forwards best chance. Mitch Clark up forward, if he starts there, has been fantastic.
Well, it's a beautiful day for boundary riders today, or commentators down near the interchange area. Liam Pickering is down there, of course. Pickers?
Yeah, thanks, Hutto. It is a magnificent day for footy. You can see I'm holding up the Swans Guernsey they're wearing this afternoon. It's actually a really nice jumper. In the middle of the V is the inaugural team that played the first time here at the Sydney Cricket Ground to mark the 30 years. And then every player that's played for the Swans is in the jumper as well. So a new look Swans. Hopefully the Swan supporters will hope they get back to their very best form this afternoon.
Thanks, Pickers. Paul, who do you think will win then this afternoon?
Well, I think Brad touched on the game style of Melbourne. I think there's just been a slight overcorrection. You know, Neeld, he was trying to get them to be a bit harder and maybe a bit more direct. I think the team that runs and spreads the best. Sydney didn't do that well last week, and Melbourne haven't been doing that well at all. Melbourne are very low in disposal numbers.
Very low.
Sydney were very low last week. So I just suspect the team that can run and spread both offensively and defensively, but you'd have to go the Swans as favourite.
And as we have a look, Hutto, Jack Watts is in defence. He's by himself. Jetta's up the other end of the ground looking to come through with a bit of spark.
So Saturday twilight footy from the SCG is underway. And the Demons and Swans, look at them scrap in. You know that both sides will be super desperate. Mike Pike back in the ruck, back in the team. He gets his chance this afternoon. Rosie?
Yeah, look, he's a really good competitor, and he's certainly mastered the art of ruck. Working, in a sense, by that I mean from a Canadian rugby player, he's a very competent ruckman. Now, what he needs to add now is actually a bit of ball round the ground, and he started to do that certainly at seconds level. So they've got a lot of confidence in him.
We've gone 30 seconds and there's been no disposals yet.
No, there hasn't. Jetta's still wandering around the stoppage all by himself. Sylvia's now come up as a forward to take him, but you'd think Melbourne, that's one player they'd lock away pretty early. He's been in good form.
Yeah, so it should be able to work the numbers from there if they get their hands on the footy. But instead it falls Sydney's way. So Melbourne's way. Blues getting it in.
Well, I think interesting, Jono, that the extra is at the stoppage for Sydney, whereas the extra for Melbourne is down back, which we've already talked about as Jack Watts. So different style. They're obviously trying to get Jetta free around the stoppages and to be able to run out, whereas the Melbourne boys are probably thinking, well, Sydney going to quick kick it, which they have been. Sydney are kicking it long also, so they've got Watts sitting back.
We caught a glance of Tommy Walsh there too, of course, as we touched on, who makes his debut, long awaited for the Swans. Jack gets them into the 50. Robert Thompson not in the best position. Rivers did the job for the D's, but there's a high contact there. And free kick is going to Jack Watts, and they do spread quickly, the Demons, with Grimes and Bartram making some good pace out to the outer side. Magna the target here, and works hard to take the grab.
And that last one was that sort of typical forward 50 entry of the Swans, which has worked well probably up until a couple of weeks ago. Just that quick kick out of the stoppages, and they were going to rely on their forwards making a really good contest, allowing their half forwards to come back into that area.
Mitch Clark, who started last week brilliantly, ended up with 3 goals and played some time in the ruck.
Just the final possession there let Melbourne down. They worked it quite well around the outer wing. Some good hit up, good lead leads by a couple of Melbourne players in Magna and Clark. Just unfortunately, Clark couldn't hit his direct teammate inside forward 50 in Sylvia.
So it is a pretty tight contest, in close as we expected so far.
I'll tell you, there's a bit of talent down the Melbourne forward line too, boys, isn't there? Jarrah, you got Sylvia who can play. I think Davies playing forward as well. So some really exciting, talented players down there.
Oh, Maloney gets it in there, and Howe, he's another one who can take a mark. And this is a bright start for the Demons, particularly if Howe can convert.
That was one of the things, Roosie, I was looking from Jeremy Howe today, was he takes the big mark, gets the big leap and loves that part of the game, but actually taking the ball out in front, having the strength to be able to do that as well on a lead. They're playing in front like a smart forward and taking a strong grab.
He's certainly got nice hands, but you're right, they're the ones he just needs to clunk. It's fine taking the big hang and winning the car, but you've really got to be solid and make sure you mark those ones when you get your hands on them.
6 goals, 8 so far this season. Not great form in front of the sticks for Howe, and they have to make every post a winner early, you would think.
Talk about forwards playing in front. We saw the first entry from Melbourne. Jarrah was behind his opponent Richards. At that time, though, he was in front, which is much better football.
Here's Nick Smith. He certainly found some pretty good form after a slightly interrupted start to the season. Jetta. Wild old handball. Mitch Clark got the run of it. Trengove. Last week, just the 10 disposals, but did have 10 tackles. Gives it straight back to Nick Smith, who can launch this a little further to wing, but again, it comes unstuck. And Rivers and Watts have...
And I think that's that free player there, Hutto. Yeah, just sitting a kick behind. So the Swans are really going to have to navigate that. I can't see if they're going to just quick kick it out of stoppages and kick it along, which they have been. I think they're going to run into some problems with that loose play down back.
So Frawley finds J-Mo, and they've got some spares out on the outer side. It hung for a while in the air. Nick Smith gets involved again. Able to take it away with the help of Jack. And now Jetta has time to consider things and send it along. Roberts-Thompson, he just kept in the contest, just hacked it forward. Reid, who hasn't seen a lot of it, Jack just powers on and should kick the first goal, and does kick the first goal.
That was great follow-up by Kieran Jack there, Jono. He was the one that sort of started on that half-back flank wing type position. He got it out and then followed up and ran. You watch him here. He got it out to Jetta. He keeps on running. Really good. This is what you want from your key forward here. Just a contest. Contest from Lewis Roberts-Thompson. Quick kick. No one from the Demons. And this is their problem. Their defensive spread of the Demons needs to get a lot better. Kieran Jack, great follow-up. No accountability from the Demons players, and a goal to the Swans.
So Kieran Jack puts it through. Getting up towards the 100-game mark, Kieran Jack. Game number 94 this afternoon. Plenty of their big guns down last week with possessions. Here's Jack right in the thick of it so far. Grimes leads the race. Hanbury and O'Keefe in numerical order were closing. Jetta takes them into some more space. And now Hanbury's left foot is not that well directed. Bartram would like to have his time again there. He's pretty good with the intercept marks. He follows it up. Not paid for Howe. Here's Jarrah. The excitement level lifts a notch. Davey. Wouldn't he love to get somewhere back near his best? Melbourne overwhelmed perhaps by the numbers there of the Swans. And it's an inevitable ball up, you would suspect.
Well, that's one rotation that Melbourne can look at today is Watts and Davey. At both times, have them at different times, one up forward, one in defence, just to create that run, and they both use the ball really well going through the middle of the ground.
Reece Shaw's had some big opponents this year. It looks like he's got the lockdown job on Davey. And now he's holding the ball. Advantage swiftly taken. And again, Jack is the man who's carrying it forward, getting it in deep. Tough one for Parker. Had his wits about him. He was looking for a free. Watts arrived on the scene. It was timely stuff as Frawley shapes the kick out to half-back. And Grimes has time on his side, although he had to go right along the boundary to find Green, who fell over just at the wrong moment. Magna lays a pretty good tackle that kept it bubbling for the Demons. Jarrah gets a handball, then goes off the ground. Meantime, Clark's in position. He's a hard man to move. Grundy's got a fair bit of experience back in defence by now.
And both half-forward lines are pushing right up the ground, so most entries, Jono, are going into sort of 2v2. And I noticed also, it looks like that the Ds have adjusted onto Jetta too. They don't seem to have that free player as they did in the first couple of minutes.
McKenzie locking down on Kennedy. So Kennedy's just had the one disposal so far as Mike Pike brings Reece Shaw into the game. Roberts Thompson in prime position. Could have been a free, but that's not the way the umpire sees it. Rivers gets the job done.
But hello, Kieran Jack's the one that started off well. He's had 5 disposals. Good spoil there by Rivers. He had 5 disposals. I think Jones has been the one going with him, and that's been the problem for Melbourne midfield. They're just lack of accountability when the opposition gets the ball.
Swans laying plenty of tackles early in response to their efforts in the last couple of weeks. And again, it's Watts who's been in the thick of it so far. Maloney a poking kick at best. And Roberts Thompson maybe having a run on the ruck at the moment. Takes it out wide for Parker. Delicate little ball for O'Keefe. He'll look out. A couple of options deep. Waited and waited. And eventually it was a well-timed lead from Dennis Lane. He almost got the job done. He might have earned a free. The pay advantage, they hesitate. And Jetta in the end just kicked a little hastily. Here's Tommy Walsh. Opportunity. Kept it alive, but he had no mates down there, and it's all Melbourne on the way out.
That was interesting, Hutto, because Jetta was sort of looking at the umpire going, well, is this advantage? And didn't look like he was really wanting to take the advantage there.
No, he wasn't convincing, was he? Hanbury to full forward again. Hands full down there, Rivers and Bartram. Walsh pursues. There's McDonald lending a hand.
Well, Walsh is hanging in there at the moment. You can see him on screen, taking the deep breaths. He's been involved in the last 3 or 4 contests as the ball's come forward for Sydney and needs to go back to the goal square to try and take a breath. That's the umpire. Threw it forward, Roosie.
Can we see that again? I've never seen that before.
Bit of a slip. Needs to put the grippo on.
Well, they'll give him plenty there no matter what. There's the cheer as he gets this one back into play.
I think that's the mulligan when you're playing golf, isn't it?
Cale Morton, who's been winning a fair bit of the footy in relative terms for the Demons, averaging 19 disposals a game. And here's Jack Watts, who seems to be thriving on that spare man role at the moment. This is his 5th disposal coming up.
I think that's the role a few people have been calling for him to do, Jono. He seems like he could be a natural half-back, natural centre-half-back if he does get bigger, because he's got beautiful skills and he can run.
He reads the play very well, but this is the challenge for them, is they're spread from that. Get the ball to this side of the ground. Midfielders like Jones, as he is now, need to link up.
He's their leading possession winner, the only man averaging over 20, and the only man who got to 20 last week. Well done, Jara, to Davey. Wouldn't this be a confidence lift? It's hanging on, but just drifts away.
Yeah, I like that ball movement better, as you said. Here's the umpire here. This is... yeah, I haven't seen that before, to be perfectly frank, Jono. But look, let's give him one. Give him an easy one off the tee. Let him bring the ball back.
Under pressure, his second throw in was
I reckon we let him bring it back, tee it up again, and we let him hit off for 1.
Yeah, we promise we won't show it again this week. Maybe not. Here's McGlynn, taking it from outside the 50. High ball, Jack's on the scene again. He's causing havoc everywhere. He lines it up and puts it through. What a start for Kieran Jack.
Well, you look at the footy last night, and it was Pendlebury, key midfielder for Collingwood, who got off to a flying start, kicking 2 goals in the opening term. Tonight, for the Sydney Swans, it's Kieran Jack, 6 disposals, going at 80% effectiveness, but's got on the ball scoreboard with 2 early goals in this game. In fact, he's got Sydney's total score in the early part of this contest. As we see there, provided a nice target up forward, came off the ground, pushed forward from the bench, and was able to get straight involved again.
I'll tell you what was surprising about that, John. Bartram was his direct opponent as he went. And normally he's one of the best small. He just really lost him then. He's normally really tight, Bartram, and doesn't give his forwards much room at all. But he gave Kieran Jack far too much room then, and he took advantage of it.
Bolton just hunted the footy then. Did it superbly. O'Keefe gets them deep, and this Melbourne defence is under all sorts of stress now. Garland adapted reasonably well.
Yeah, one thing you do need to win up here to win, Jono, as you probably well know, is the centre bounces. You know, you've got to get in top in the centre clearance, because as we see there, that centre bounce now is deep in the forward pocket when you get a clearance at the SCG.
Kennedy manhandled, all within the rules. McVeigh, O'Keefe, Trengove. Well, McVeigh could get the ball, but getting out of there was another issue altogether.
And that's why, Roosie, it's so important for Melbourne to be able to do that, because it brings Clark when he's in there. You sit him 30 metres out from goal. He's the first contest out of a good clearance. Same with Jarrah because of his leap. It brings the key forwards into the game.
Garland is watching Kennedy at the moment. And McVeigh went through his legs almost. Parker. Here's Kennedy, Roberts Thompson. They fashioned the ball out somehow. Into the clear. Quick snap is a good snap from Parker.
They've actually been really good in close with their hands. If we see this again here, I think it started with Joey Kennedy. He's probably one of the best around the stoppages and around the congested ball area. As we watch it here, he goes in, picks it up. I don't think he gets a clean disposal, but he's first to the ball. Really nice, quick hands from Lewis Roberts-Thompson. Marty Mattner was out the back as well. He could have got a handball. And a really, really nice finish from Luke Parker. So some nice, sharp, quick hands from the Sydney Swans there to create a goal.
But on the back of that, Rugio, a couple of stoppages now. Melbourne's had 3 or 4 players on their defensive side, and Sydney's been winning it and had the advantage on their side of the contest. They need to mix it in a little bit more to stop easy release out the back.
Gee, Swans have made an early statement here at the SCG. Hanover getting them going again out of the middle. Big kick, Mattner, deep to full forward. Under stress again, Frawley. Rivers around the corner. Kennedy back with a flight. You knew he'd go, and he did. Trengove. There's Swans everywhere, though, at the drop of the ball. Here's Hanbury again. Hemmed in by Trengove, but still found a way to get it through to McGlynn. He can set it up to full forward. We've mentioned, of course, no Adam Goods, but Tommy Walsh is down there. Parker's already snagged 1 goal. Here's Blease back in the team. He played round 1. And it's worked through by Frawley for a behind.
I think, Huddo, you mentioned no Adam Goods, but what you are getting is a contest from the Swans keys. But they haven't got a lot of the ball. Well, Lewis Roberts-Thompson's had 4, which is a good return. But Tommy Walsh only had 1 handball, Jono, but he's actually, as we see...
Oh, he got a stop, did he?
On the hand.
Quick kick in is a good one. Garland decides to keep going with the momentum. Hits Mattner on the wing. He was able to bring it in. Now Sylvia under the pump, big time. Just the 6 disposals last week. Hasn't scored yet in his 3 games for such a talented player. On the edge of being left out of this team, as his coach Mark Neild acknowledged earlier in the week. High ball from Howe. Mattner has it all covered. Gets some good help. And really is allowed to gallop out of defence all too easily. Back to the wing. Garland fighting off 2 Swans and doing it pretty well, but it's gone straight to Nick Smith. Again, he's got Kieran Jack. Down the line, Rivers had a good read on the situation.
I think at least the Demons are looking to switch, Jono. You mentioned long kicks before, which, if you're getting it forward to centre, that's a good initiative at the SCG, but I like the way they're actually at least trying to spread the Swans around. It hasn't resulted in any goals at this particular stage, but at least they're making the Swans work defensively. Great effort by Jet here.
It was. Took it away from Morton, and in the end, Roberts Thompson was outnumbered, and Grimes was able to save the day. And maybe just kickstart something out wide to half back. Garland will help him with that task. Jarrah demands it in the middle. The service wasn't great. And you can see where it ended, but he does eventually run onto it with help from Mattner. Oh, Jones looking for a free. Umpire not of the same opinion. Davey, and it's over and out. Down to Liam.
We talk about the recipe for success, and we know if you get these 3 areas right, that you win 96% of the time. Have a look at this. Sydney leading everything at the moment. Disposal efficiency 75%, but they're doubling Melbourne in tackles, so effort from the Swans right up.
Jamar takes it to their feet. Kennedy, O'Keefe, now Reid, who's really struggled to get amongst it since the early stages of this year. There's a free on Tommy Walsh, so he's going to get an opportunity here. What are the expectations of Tommy Walsh, do you think, today, Ruzi?
Yeah, I think just to compete. You know, I went and saw him play in the All-Ireland final a couple of years ago with Ty Kennelly. He's a great athlete, and Johnny, you saw him play in the International Rules Series. But today I think it's just about competing for him, bringing the ball to ground, and just making sure there's a target for the Swans up the field.
Garland for Grimes, for Watts. Good awareness at the death there. Got himself clear, and kicks for Mitch Clark. Now he's pushed well up the ground. What can he do with it? How can he find a path to goal? Goes for Davey, who starts behind Shaw. Tries to muscle his way through. Shaw a hard man to get past, though. Nick Smith, was that in the back? No, so that's a good tackle according to the umpire. Almost could have been rewarded, given it wasn't paid in the back.
I just think Mitch Clark's got to hang on to that ball a little bit longer. He didn't give Davey any chance to mark that at all, Jono, really.
Melcheski, Magna.
Play on, well done, play on.
Near the encouragement. Now, it could be... they seem to be a lot lighter on that holding the ball rule than they were, don't they?
Just going back to the half-back line of Melbourne, I think you saw there why he's such a highly talented player, Jack Watts. Just his decision-making under pressure was terrific.
Jones with the chaotic kick. Trengove likewise just getting it onto the boot and getting it forward. But Grundy able to relieve.
Because I was actually talking to a couple of guys about that draft again during the week, and there's no question whatsoever, and you'd remember it as well. Jack Watts, people talk about Nat Nui and where they're going to take him, but Jack Watts is clearly seen as the best player in that draft.
Oh, absolutely. You're spot on, Rosie.
Dennis Lane hugs the boundary, and here's Watts, and they can switch it again. Look a little more purposeful with the footy this afternoon. Frawley. And there's a line-up on this side of the ground. Like the Swans just effecting interchange, which evens up the numbers and makes Howe's job a little bit more difficult, and even more so for Cale Morton, who's completely swamped. And the umpire says it's still moving. McDonald over it, Jetta, Grimes takes it back into the stoppage situation. And this time it's another ball up.
Well, unfortunately for Melbourne, Howe didn't know that Roberts-Thompson had come off the interchange bench to effect a good tackle, which halted their movement going forward.
O'Keefe, little opening. Hanbury heard the call. McVeigh, and again they're kicking it straight to Jack Watts. This time he can advance on his own steam if he wants for a little while yet. Reaches half back, still looking on the horizon for something good. Finds Jara there, who's just coughed it up a little too easily and giving him some time to settle. McVeigh, low ball, half forward. McGlynn not quite. The height of Garland came to his advantage that time. Parker won his own footy. Jenner, the recipient, spears it to goal, and it bounces all the way through. They've got the answers.
Yeah, they've certainly got the answers at the moment. I don't mind the way the Demons are moving the ball. We've mentioned it a couple of times. It's just not translating to scoring opportunities. And we see here, McVeigh lowers his eyes a bit. A good spoil from behind. Really good strength from Parker. And Jetta's been a terrific player. He's really improved his endurance and worked extremely hard. Now he's become a very good defensive and an offensive player and a good finisher. A good goal for Lewis Jetta.
I liked his positioning at the start of the game, Brucey, getting up behind, because there may have been some thought that a Bartram may go to him and try and lock him away really tight. Get him off the back, get him some early touches, and he's had 7 so far in the game and now a goal. He's well and truly picked up the momentum of this game quite quickly.
15 goals, 7 this year for Lewis Jetta. Those problems of 7 goals, 21 and 9 goals, 12 seem an age away now for Lewis Jetta.
He's almost one of those guys you need to tag now, Jono. And I'm just looking at Mackenzie might be now trying to go to him, because he has become a very, very good ball winner and ball user, and obviously a goal scorer for them.
Oh, he's a great complement to what they have, isn't he, really, with their tough inside footy. We saw the inside 50, speaking of inside a moment ago, that 15-6 to represent the Swans' dominance here, which is also reflected on the scoreboard. McVeigh guides it out wide. McGlynn again popping up in the right spot, setting sail for full forward. Reid looks likely this time in the right spot. Kennedy actually spoiled by his own man there in red, but he got it anyway and puts through their 5th, and they're starting to roll now, the Swans.
Yeah, really good goal. Good attack. I think the forwards this week of the Swans, last week, look, there wasn't a lot of pressure through the midfield from the Swans, not a lot of run and spread. It's completely different today. But watch here, equal numbers inside 50. They're not allowing the loose now, the Swans. Good spoil. And watch Joey Kennedy just follows the ball, whereas the Melbourne players ball watch as well. They're not concerned about their opponents. Watch it here. And really, it's in the end, it's quite an easy finish when the Melbourne player just drops off Joey Kennedy and kicks the goal. This is the real concern for the Demons for mine. They just don't have a defensive mindset, Jono. You talked about a couple of times with the clearances. Swans are on one side, Demons on the other side. It's going the Swans' way, but they don't have an ability to adjust and think defensively when things aren't going their way.
Well, the first thing you have to do, Bruce, is cover the 4 points around the contest to at least put yourself in a position to put the percentages in your favour, as we see holding the ball against the Swans.
And the problem is they've kicked 5 goals, and they're all from little blokes, basically, midfield types. So the big blokes aren't doing any damage to smaller blokes.
Here's Blees darting and getting it in quickly. Was that a free? No. Sylvia thought it should have been. In the end, it paid the mark, did they, to Teddy Richards? All right, overruled. So that's a little embarrassing, but it's good to get the right decision.
The umpires working together to get the right decision.
So they are deep in attack. For one of the rare occasions, the Demons. 7 inside 50s is producing just 2 behind so far. Pike, and it's coming out all too easily. O'Keefe takes it to the wing. Tommy Walsh and Jack Watts. Just his mind got ahead of his body there. And it's out.
I mean, clearance of 10-7, so it's not a smacking, but it's just how easy, Hutto, you just mentioned, just how easy they seem to be getting it away. So when the Swans get a clearance, it's a really nice, easy clearance. When Melbourne get one, it's not as simple, and they just tend to rush their kicks under more pressure. Here's another one there.
Trengove had it, the luxury of a second chance, but it didn't really matter much, and it's over and out. So what will Mark Neal be thinking now, do you think, Rosie, at this stage? Other than a little bit more gloom and doom, but he's got to try and stay proactive and come up with something for his troops at quarter time.
Yeah, look, I liked having Watts. I think they've got to try and keep manufacturing. Now the Swans have adjusted to that. And we'll have a look at the forward 50 of the Swans throughout the game with our commentator Cam. But the Swans have now adjusted to Jack Watts. So there's no free player. But if I was Mark Neal, I'd be saying, right, let's get back. I want Watts free. I want to make sure that we have a runner out. And I want to be able to, because their ball use hasn't been bad. Now the Swans are getting what they want, not what Mark Neal wants.
I'd be sending McKenzie to Jack, and I'd be sending Bartram to Jetta. Just lock those 2 players out of the contest.
So you're prepared to give up Kennedy, to get him onto Jack for McKenzie?
I think at the moment, Jack's certainly been more dominant throughout this first quarter.
Just to back that point up, he's had 9 possessions, Kieran Jack, and 4 scores involvements. So, I mean, he is really dangerous. As in Ryan O'Keefe, he's up to 11 touches already as well.
Well, they're all getting involved.
Well, I think it's a really good point, Johnny. You've got to teach these Melbourne guys, particularly the midfielders, you've got to teach them what it's like to play on a man.
Tommy Walsh thought he might have got a free. In the end, it goes the other way to Jack Trengove, who was doing his best to lead from the front, the young 20-year-old. Frawley, bombing ball into the 50. A bit of confusion amongst the Demons. There was no one to go for that at all.
I mean, that's just a terrible kick from Frawley. I'm a big Frawley fan, but that's a terrible kick, and you're giving it forwards no chance to kick a goal.
Bruce Shaw came out full-chested, used Matner and kept on coming. Shows his running ability. This time he misfires on the kick.
Just need to sit that up. Could have controlled that kick a lot more, Shaw, and just sat it up. Pike would have probably brought the ball out of play anyway, and there would have been a set up in a dangerous position with a stoppage.
So Bartram camped in the back pocket. Garland, Grimes. Magner in a really long lead to give him something more central, but decides to stick to the boundary, to the trodden path, and he finds Jared Rivers.
And this is a really good illustration of the difference between the 2 sides. When Melbourne get the ball, Sydney already have a defensive mindset, so they're already on their men. It's slower ball use because the instincts of the Swans are completely different to the instincts of the Demons.
McKenzie through to Green, who copped one.
And this is a critical kick here. Green's a really nice ball user. He needs to hit a forward on the chest.
Well, there's a strong lead down there from Mitch Clark. And he's up to take the mark. He is in really good leading and marking form.
He is in fantastic marking form, but what you'd like to see, Clark's the key forward. So what you'd like to see is a Sylvia, one of the smalls, even a Davey at times, get in and block for him. Give him that extra metre that he needs to mark. And who knows, 9 times out of 10, Rosie, the blocker does get out himself. Start working for each other a little bit more in that forward end. 1, make it easier for your key forward, and 2, you might be able to actually get a bit lucky yourself and get out.
17-10 for the year for Mitch Clark. Let's see what he is confronted with there. And he just can't quite. So still the Demons without a goal as we close in on quarter time.
I mean, you also got to identify as a Melbourne player who are your hot teammates, and Clark has been hot this year. He's a very good forward, he's a very good mark. Yeah, so you can't go to him all the time, you've got to mix it up. But you're right, you need to work with him, block for him, help him out, let him get into space, and he's a very, very big man, and he can catch the football.
Short stuff from Nick Smith. Jetta. O'Keefe cuts the angles into the middle. Dennis Lane will relish a bit of space to work in. Guiding kick was a good one too. Instant pass from Walsh into the pocket. Roberts-Thompson didn't try to do too much. Instead, just hooked it into the centre. Good aggression from Blees. He's overrun by numbers. And Dennis Lane tried one on there, but it goes over the line and out of bounds.
And we saw at the last one I mentioned it. The Swans forced them around the boundary line, Hunter. There, the accountability of Melbourne's completely different. All of a sudden, we see a free Swans player bobbing up in the middle. So it's just that one Melbourne player that gets off his man and allows the Swans to bring the ball coast to coast.
So a bit of a conference, and in the end, they decide that out of bounds.
Just deciding whether it was on the full or not. That's out of bounds.
Jamar in front, Pike over the top, Jones, oh, Kennedy, anticipation and execution just perfect.
Well, he's had another reasonable start to the game too, hasn't he? He's had 6 possessions, Joey Kennedy kicked 2 goals. And if you go through the numbers, you've got Kieran Jack, 9 and 2 goals. And here we see it again, not a bad setup from Melbourne. They don't have a lot of support, a lot of one-on-one. You really need your half forwards coming up here. It's just a poor handball from Jones. Good tackle, good pressure from Jude Bolton as he does that relentlessly, Jude. He's a fantastic competitor. Really good hands from Joey Kennedy and a nice finish again.
And Ruzi, you mentioned they needed more support. Is that where you might throw a wingman behind the contest, half forward, come up and take the opposition wingman?
Absolutely. You've got to slide someone up, slide someone behind that contest, outnumber. It's your defensive 50 stoppages. You can't let an easy goal like that.
It's out to 34 points. And it doesn't look like stopping yet. Bolton improvised with a big bomb. Rivers steeled himself, but Roberts-Thompson was equal to the task. And it's over and out. And there's been some big damage done on the scoreboard in this opening term. Not what would have been in the mind of Mark Neal when he touched down in Sydney yesterday. Jamar. Here's an opening from Maloney. Blees arches the back at the appropriate moment to get himself into the clear. Howe. Sylvia. Again, Johnson, and now releasing McVeigh. Went for the extra distance on the kick. Not a bad idea. Walsh the target. At least he competed. Comes to ground. Malcheski. We know he's dangerous with the left. And in the end, it falls into the arms of Ben McGlynn.
Oh, I'd love to see where Benny McGlynn, and we might be able to follow that at quarter time or half time with the camera we've got on the forwards. But again, no accountability from the Melbourne players. I don't know. Benny McGlynn's a small forward. I think he was front and square at that last contest. No accountability and a mark just outside the goal square.
7 goals, 7 coming in today. We know he can kick them. He does there.
Spot on, Ruzi. And we see on the replay that Malcheski's kick, he actually had a handball to Kieran Jack that he could have easily executed, and Jack would have certainly worked into an open goal as well. We see McGlynn at the top of screen there, gets him behind Bartram. Big spoil, good spoil from Garland, but it did fall. You see Kieran Jack could have got released for a handball, but that's the work rate of McGlynn getting in behind the defence. And an easy set shot at goal.
I tell you what, that vision as a Melbourne supporter, you'd be really disappointed. But there you go. If you want to take some vision and want to know why this team's on the bottom of the ladder, there it is right there. No accountability from the defenders. And Bartram, who is a really accountable small defender, that's the second time he's done that. Very, very unusual for a player that has made a living, Jono, out of locking on and stopping dangerous players.
It was ball watching then, Rosie.
Yep.
Melbourne are keeping their forward 6 at the moment, as there's only 7 seconds to go in this quarter. Parker going to try and architect something more, but it's not going to happen before the buzzer. So quarter time on the siren, and it's 7-1-43 Sydney. Melbourne just 3 points. This miserable start to the season might only be getting worse for the Demons from what we've seen. Maybe quarter time will be the panacea for them. They can turn something around. They need to quickly. It's an all too familiar tale as far as Demons fans, players and their coach Mark Neal is concerned. Quarter time, it's 43-3, 7 goals won Sydney to 3 behind, 3 points. And Paul Roos and Brad Johnson really, from what we've seen, there's worse to come. What would be going through them? We're going to find out what's going through the mind of Mark Neild very shortly, but what are your own thoughts?
Oh, we certainly spoke about some key matchups throughout that first quarter where they may be able to make a shift in the second quarter, so we'll look out for that. Maybe Bartram to Jetta and McKenzie. Well, then, in the end, Kennedy did bob up with a couple of goals, but it was Jack that was certainly the key early on for Sydney and his impact. So maybe they need to look at that a little bit and work their clearances out, because that's where Sydney's just been too effective.
Yeah, I think they had Watts off the back too early, and that worked. And then Sydney adjusted to it and got one-on-ones, which worked in Sydney's favour. So if I was Mark Neild, I'd persevere with trying to get as many numbers back to free up Jack Watts. If you end up with 7-7, that's fantastic.
Well, let's get down to Liam Pickering, who's going to talk to the coach.
Nearly pretty disappointing, obviously, at the start. What's the most concerning after that?
The most concerning, Pickers, is to try and stop the multiple goals that the Swans were getting. We talked about things and do walkthroughs and those types of things, but the inability that we have at the moment to put those into practice under pressure.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Yeah, look, it's a really good point, and I sense his frustration, because anyone that coaches senior football is going to be doing defensive things. They're going to be teaching guys, Jono, where to stand at defensive stoppages. They're going to be telling, if there's a balloon ball in, Clint Bartram and you're on Benny McGlynn, don't ball watch. Don't go. Your man is your man. Lock him away, and they would be the most frustrating things for Mark Neild at the moment. He knows what's going on. He's telling his players, but at the moment, they have an inability to listen and learn and execute.
Well, the contested possessions are level. The total disposals, they're down in, but they're not getting absolutely smashed. But the inside 50 is 20-9, so what they're doing with the footy.
And tackles 24-11. So not only defensively going well, the Swans, then responding with some good gut run out of the middle of the ground.
Well, the Swans are responding to what's happened to them in the last couple of weeks, particularly last week against the Tigers. You can see the determination written all over their faces so far. Hanbury has been in amongst it, and so is Bolton, who dives in, and now it looks like it will come to a halt.
He was obviously pretty animated at quarter time, Mark Neild, and you sense his frustration. 7 goal kickers, when you're talking through the midfield, really, the likes of Jack and Kennedy and McGlynn and these type of players, they need to just lock down on those guys.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Pickers, and I think that's why it's time for him now, almost to go complete one-on-one and re-educate. Righto, Maloney, you've got him. Jones, you've got him. And one by one, and even if they have to come off the ground and rotate with them every time they come off the ground, at least they're going to know they're going to get exposed at the meeting on Monday, and who are the guys that are letting the team down.
Jarrah had the luxury there of taking a chest mark on the lead. He knows he's too far out to score, and that is a terrific kick. The result is probably not great where Mitch Clark is, but you just saw the skills of Liam Jarrah there on display. And who knows, Mitch Clark, we know he's goal kicking.
Well, he's looking inside,
Yeah.
but no one's moving. Some movement now from Magna. The only one to move and wins the ball.
Magna has kicked 3 goals, 1 so far in his 7 games.
And he has been a shining light for Melbourne, no question. Especially his first 4 games were outstanding. Picked up plenty of the ball and used it effectively in his first season.
So maybe just the tonic the Demons need. An early goal in the second quarter. In the end, it struggled for distance. The accuracy was there. He thought he'd kicked it, but he didn't.
Talk about basics. How there wasn't a Melbourne big bloke on the line is beyond me.
Reece Shaw. Well, that result won't disappoint him overly. It's out of bounds.
Yeah, there's some really concerning signs, and I suppose that's why you're on the bottom of the ladder, Pickers, because there are some things that are really, really disappointing for the Melbourne supporters watching at home.
Jamar Jones. Grimes. Back with it, Maloney. And Matner just sneaks in to get it over and out.
Here's that one before. Now that's one of the worst things in football. Look at that. You just needed one of those blokes standing there, basically competing.
Yeah, all he needed was a little nudge, Pickers, wasn't he? I mean, he was a bit off balance. I'm not sure who it was on the line, but that Swans player was a bit off balance, and he just needed the big man next to him.
Oh, Jarrah had a glimpse, and he got it to Davey in the end, and goes again. Green this time. He was wrong-sided. Is that a mark? It wasn't. He knew to play on. Maybe it was paid. He called play on. I think Blease has the shot.
Was it touched? I mean, it looked like it went the distance.
It did. wasn't called though. But Brucey, you look at watch the smart forwards. What they'll do is the smart key forwards will go behind the goals when there is a set shot and use the goal umpire as a little bit of a block for themselves, maybe to get that jump on the goal line.
Seems like that comes from experience, Jono. You did that a few times?
I got taught that, yeah, definitely. So that's it. You can use the umpire there to get around and get a clear jump at the ball.
Yeah, 2 Melbourne players down on the point post.
That's absolutely deplorable by the big forwards.
Jamar, Maloney, ripped it away. Matna, Tringover's hanging on already. Jones fully committed, didn't dive on the footy though in the end. And it escapes, and it's in Sydney's hands. Hanbury took his time as he assessed. Walsh, Rivers just nudged him at the right moment. Dennis Lane breathed some life into the situation there, and it's over and out.
It's really those quick hands around the stoppages, Jono, that's hurting Melbourne at the moment. The ability of the Swans players to get their hands free, give those short little handballs out the back, and then spread. Melbourne haven't been able to stop that at this stage.
Jamar Maloney wasn't quite ready for it to come his way. Parker left it behind, perfect for O'Keefe. Green's onto it though. His reactions were good. Magna. Fumble from Kyle Morton again, just at the crucial moment. Magna had to go and win it back, which he did. Maloney digs it up. Sylvia comes late, but he didn't really impact on the contest. Left it for Trengove. So where have the goals come from so far, Jono?
So have a look at the score sources. Hutto, 2 goals from stoppage in the first quarter. I thought they had 3 or 4 from stoppages. Their dominance around that part of the ground, but it is the turnover, especially their interceptions from Melbourne, that they've got 4 goals won so far in this game, the Sydney Swans.
So that was just an innocent question. You got that up very nicely, Jono. Well done.
Thanks.
Here's Jara looking for it. Richards doing his best to not do much and not give away the free, and there's times when he might have been pinged for that.
See, how long do they let it go now?
They do, don't they?
It's amazing.
I think they miss a lot of hands over the shoulders and that as well. And there's also other ones where they used
But it
to
does
play
become a
holding the
little bit dangerous because then the next player comes in at 100 mile an hour over the top.
We're talking about, obviously, Melbourne and obviously how badly they're going, but they've been inside 54 times this quarter to Sydney's nothing. And their effort's certainly up in the first part of this second quarter.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't had a lot of clean footy all the same.
The contested possessions 9-3 this quarter, Picker. So look, they're having a go, but they just don't seem to be able to get it out on the outside and spread and give their forwards some good ball coming into the forward 50.
Parker takes it to the line again for the Swans. It's just been completely shut down at the moment. McKenzie caught one a few moments ago. Oh,
Accidental.
It's got a stop on the nose there.
Stubs in the forehead.
A little bit of rugby union sort of action.
Kieran Jack and Kyle Morton. You enjoy that sort of stuff, do you, Pickers?
It's lucky the players don't put the screw-ins on these days. There's a little bit of claret on his head.
Nothing better than a good contest, Hutto. You should know that.
I've watched plenty of them over the years, Len. There's the kick away back into the middle from McKenzie. It opens up the door now for the Swans. And Jenner can carry it all the way. He was feigning to use Dennis Lane, but decided to go on his own. And he's worked it back for a goal.
Yeah, we've seen multiple times this year, Johnny. You cannot let Jeddah get goal side.
What about his positioning, though? It's perfect. It's the ball where it is. Look at him just standing in the middle of the ground there waiting for the ball to head in his direction, and off he goes, and there's no catching him. Watts did a pretty good chase, had 2 to contend with, but in the end, that's the difference this year to the last couple of years with Jeddah, nailing those opportunities when they come his way.
I'll tell you what, though, if you're Garland, it's a big risk to go and back into a pack when you're playing on Jeddah. I mean, it's admirable, but you need to really have a bit better awareness, because I'm not sure who the Demons player was behind him, but there was a one-on-one contest. The Demons player had the Swans player covered. All of a sudden, you leave it's the
blood rules.
The blood rule, yeah. It was purely accidental. He just put his foot in and just happened to, unfortunately, stomp on the side of his melon.
So now it's 45 after, as we mentioned, Melbourne had, I wouldn't say control of the footy, but they had it in their half. Bartram tries to find Jones. It was a wandering kick, though. Sylvia trying to have some impact. Forcing it forward, the Demons. Blees into the 50. Mitch Clark marching out. Grundy locked him up just as quick. Nick Smith lends a hand. And now they're out. Roberts Thompson for Jack, who hesitated until he had a man in the clear. He's got that now. Parker as they surge. No obvious pass for him yet. Waits for McGlynn. That just held things up a moment. They've got an extra man forward, though. It's all too easy for the Swans. Jude Bolton, the latest to line up for goal.
Well, they just got the overlap run in the end. It was Parker's hard work that got him behind the midfield of Melbourne, which then created overlap football. And in the end, it got to Ben McGlynn, who was then smart enough. Watts had to come off Bolton to try and put pressure on. And McGlynn's kick was spot on, which gives Bolton an easy shot at goal.
So Jude Bolton is drifting a fraction, more than a fraction. It's a behind.
It must be just so frustrating for the Melbourne coaching staff because they're getting everything they want now, the Swans. You know, you're getting extra numbers in your defensive stoppages. You're able to run it through. I think that was Kieran Jack's kick to Luke Park. It was just a super kick. All the half forwards were up, so you got space in behind. And they're really getting everything they want. The Melbourne coaches must be so frustrated with just the lack of discipline, lack of effort at the moment from the Melbourne players on transition.
There's an element of risk in that kick in, but Morton eventually took the free. Trengove did well, knew where Watts was. Ambitious handball. McDonald lent some assistance. Sylvia delayed his kick too long. Just a moment too long.
If we have that vision again, there was two Swans players that hit the deck and both got up straight away. Malcheski was one of them, and he charged back and made the tackle on Sylvia. That's effort.
Parker finds Walsh. Encouragement for the Swans and their recruit from St Kilda. County Kerry originally. Deep into the forward line it goes. Watts helps Rivers. Dennis Lane. McGlynn still there. Dennis Lane conceived something in his head. It wasn't ever likely to eventuate in a goal. Bartram just a little too hasty. O'Keefe's had 17 disposals already in this game, 10 minutes into the second quarter.
But that's what happens as well. When the opposition start winning so much ball, your forward line just flows up with it, trying to get their hands on the ball as well within the contest. They lose all structure going back the other way. It just plays into the opposition's hands. So much easier for them to defend.
He's almost reached his season average 10 minutes into the second quarter. Amazing numbers, aren't they, from Ryan O'Keefe?
Yeah, look, the midfielders, you've got O'Keefe at 17, you've got Henry at 12, you've got Kieran Jack 12 and 2 goals, Jed at 9 and 2 goals.
What a messy result for the Demons there. Watts kick just off the mark. The margin is 47. The Swans won't be stopping just yet. Kennedy, Parker, again, it was elementary stuff, and he puts it through for their 9th goal.
You've got to like the work of Parker Bruzy, who went into his move before he'd taken possession of the ball, which then took his direct opponent out of the contest, allowed him to get a snap on goal. We see he receives the handball, which already turning back. Little fumble, but good enough to recover. And a pretty classy snap.
You also noticed a free Ryan O'Keefe at the stoppage. That's a forward 50 stoppage with a free Swans player.
Oh, what he must be thinking, Mark Neild. There'd be a massive amounts of just disbelief, really, when that his side could be playing like this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I just think he'd be so disappointed with the lack of effort of his team. And he'd be really searching for answers in his own mind in the moment, as would the other coaches for the Demons.
Well, he would have walked into the club at the start of the year, or late last year. They just finished with 8 wins for the season. If we just get around that mark again, it'll be a great start. You'll be a bit buoyant about yourself. You'll be asking yourself a lot of questions now.
And there'll be those from outside asking questions too. And it's a difficult time at any footy club. But, we've got two relatively new teams in the competition. We're expecting those two sides to still be 17th and 18th, but the Demons are rock bottom at the moment. O'Keefe, again, it's his 18th disposal.
Yeah, 18 disposals, and as you mentioned, it's only sort of halfway through the second quarter, so Ryan O'Keefe's on for a groundbreaking day, I would suggest.
Watts.
Shove on Jarrah, so he takes it. And he does have a few options. They're quickly being covered, but there's one that was still free, which might still work to their advantage. McDonald got the handball out. Jones, Jarrah. Needed a very fine operation there to get it to Howe. That's just the way it seems to be at the moment when they do get the ball.
Well, you made a really good call then, Hutto, is they seem to close up so quickly, and that's what the Swans have done so much better today. As soon as Melbourne get it, it's not as if Melbourne aren't getting it. They've had 128 disposals to 140, so it's only 12 different, but they're just getting closed down every time they get it.
Well, this time Melbourne win their own ball back. Garland takes it out for Sylvia. Only has one option, and that is the hard-running Mackenzie. Jarrah's back in the square. Howe's there as well. And it will be Howe, who's in the best position. He should mark it. Oh, surely the umpire had a little bit of mercy. Bolton just gets it out of there. It'll come back, though. Now, just what Melbourne didn't need. The block paid on Morton.
I tell you, it was a bit stiff not to be paid the mark.
Yeah, well, it did seem that way.
But that's about game awareness, surely. I mean, he was always going to mark the ball. There's no need to give away a free kick there. That was poor play by Morton.
Yeah, we're talking about the one before they learned back in the goal square. Was it a mark?
Oh, absolutely a mark.
Hanbury. And here's the smart darting Jetta. Reid is the long target. He's largely hasn't been required so far, though, Reid, has he really?
Now, John, I mentioned it really is the mediums and the medium midfielders and forwards of the Swans that have been kicking the goals. What the Swans talls have been doing forward to centre is just making a contest, and that's all they've needed to do today.
Blease has shown some good work effort today. I reckon he had 14 disposals, in fact, Blease. He's missed a few targets, but
I do like his speed out of a contest, Blease.
Johnson, low ball. Oh, it's got all the way through to Tommy Walsh. There's one gifted for you. Bang!
And once again, I'd love to see where that Swans play came from, because he is a forward that's just run back into forward 50. And here's Howe here, marks it. Well, that's either a mark or a free kick, Jono, isn't it? Surely.
Drag the arm away.
And he's dragged it, and it's dragged down.
Is this the flow on from it? A scrubby kick inside, but things are going your way, Ruzi, and Walsh launched it, second level.
So congratulations to Tommy Walsh, who kicks his first goal in AFL footy on debut. See how he kicked the ball in? Didn't kick it straight at all. He had it flat across.
There is one man behind the goals at that end to collect the footies, and he's going to have to search long and hard for that one.
He's got his work cut out today, hasn't he, down there at the moment? Here he is running into goal.
He's kicked the belly.
Yes.
He thought that was a soccer ball kicking the Gaelic football. I reckon that's landed in my office at the Swans Academy over the back there. I'll grab that one tomorrow.
Kennedy. So 59 points. Here's the margin. 3 goals, 2 to 1 point in the quarter. It's amazing. We were discussing before the game Melbourne last year, and they had these 3 massive victories against. They beat Adelaide, I think, by 96 points at the MCG, and
I think their wins, Hutto, when they won them, they were all over 40, and when they lost, they were all over 40 from memory.
it was astonishing. It was inconsistency. At least there was some ups that last year. There hasn't been too many so far in 2012. Mitch Clark has been one of their bright lights, and J Mars filled the spot up forward at the moment. He's there battling away.
They're trying to find some positives. You mentioned Blease before. He was a really talented young young kid. Watched a lot of his tapes. Really liked him, and he's had a really good game today. He has got some good speed, Jono, you mentioned before.
Well, he was a pretty high pick, wasn't he?
I think he's had quite a few injuries since he's been at Melbourne, but look, he's a talented young kid.
Pike getting it down. Magna. Kennedy at the coalface.
If you look at here, as I said, you've got to feel sorry for Mark Field. He certainly wouldn't have felt he was walking into a situation that he has found himself in after 7 or 8 weeks. But the Swans' organisation around these defensive stoppages are far better than what they are by Melbourne down the other end. Which is
interesting, that. Guy says it was out before he kicked it. Not so
Talk
sure.
about some players that need to lift. Aaron Davey 1 touch. Jamar's had 2. Sylvia 5 ineffective. Green 5 and Morton 6.
Jones takes on a big load there.
Yeah, it's interesting because here it is here.
Is this out on the full? Probably the right decision to get it again.
Well, some of the younger players have been okay. Blease has had 6 this quarter. Magna's had 4 this quarter. Watts has had 12 for the game. So look, some of the younger guys have been okay.
Here's Jones with an opportunity, and he's willed it home, and finally they break through.
Well, he's had a reasonable year.
He has.
Jones led their disposals last week with 21, the only player to get over 20 last week. And that was better. Proactive at the stoppage, some movement at the stoppage, which was important here. And able to create their first goal for the game on the back of it. Swans will be disappointed at the fact that they have been scored against at a stoppage so far.
Yeah, it's a really nice finish. There's no question about that. Wasn't a lot of room down there, but a lovely snap over the left shoulder and a terrific goal for the first goal.
Kicked 8 goals, 3 for the season now. Nathan Jones is their second leading goal kicker behind Mitch Clark. Kieran Jack first, Melchesky second. Both getting plenty of attention. Bolton finds its way to Clark. You heard the call of the umpire, Richards. And they're on the outside, the Swans here. Bounding after it. Johnson there first. And indulges in a bounce, which was an interesting decision. Up to the wing, well done from Garland. Knocked it away from Dennis Lane. Here's Davey through Maloney's hands. Bartram, they're advancing. Outnumbered here. Not just 2-1, it'll be 3-1 now once the ball's hit the ground. Matner, help from McVeigh. Further assistance from Grundy. Can cut back inside if he had changed his line of sight. He had an okay option out wide, though, in Roberts-Thompson.
That was great play by Marty Matt.
Yeah.
He just really read that perfectly off the boot of the Melbourne player and went across and helped his teammate. Cut that ball off. Terrific play.
We've got Lewis Jenner out here off the bench.
It's becoming an important tactic, just coming off the bench at the right time, especially offensively.
West Coast did it beautifully last year with the likes of McCoskey and Embley.
McLean, the forward line is pretty much full to the brim. So that's the decision to go back and around.
Yeah, they just need to work this around, just try and find a target. Melbourne have got, looks like Clark back there and Watts back there as well. So even though Watts is now coming out, still got 1 extra.
So they're trying to draw them out. They've done that to some extent.
Yeah.
Grundy can find a path through the middle. Jamar is there.
Should have kept running, Grundy. Should have taken a bounce through the middle of the ground.
Could have cleared
the ball
that
would have gone to the goal square.
Yeah. It's scrappy on the way out again for the Demons.
No, you're right. He had the whole central corridor free. I'd had a short kick coming out. A Swans player was leading short, and then he kicked it into no man's land a bit.
Roberts-Thompson gets there first. He was the lone ruckman that time. Jack, and here's good follow-up work. Hanbury, he handballed it back to the call. Bolton, in the end, overwhelmed. McDonald, Watts, they're prepared to handball here. There's an element of risk to all of this. Maloney and Rivers and Garland, they kept on coming. That was a delicate operation. Jurra, outpointed by Richards on this occasion. And now, Jenner with it, the underground. There's a nice move from Kieran Jack.
He probably could have given that hand.
Yeah, his eyes are lining up with that forward line, Kieran Jack.
Yeah, you don't like to see that. I mean, he's not a selfish player, Kieran Jack, but you don't like to see that. Just could have given it. I'm not sure who was running past.
It was O'Keefe going on his right side.
Oh, okay.
That's what he'll argue anyway.
Yeah, so he'll use that now.
We saw the effective disposals stat on the board, which is in favour of the Swans. Now, this is McDonald. He's been another brightish light for them as a young man, taking strides in the game. Speaking of strides, Grundy just about reaching full stride there as he finds Jetta, and now hard, strong lead from Walsh. That was bordering on the edge to 50.
This is amazing when you're out of form, Jono. Everything just seems to go poorly. You know, you miss your kicks, the ball bounces over your head, chopping your arms.
Like this.
Yeah, things like this. Everything just seems to go completely down the gurgler.
Kennedy was shaping as if he was going to give it to Jetta, but he could just about go this distance, couldn't he, Rosie?
Yeah, he's a nice kick. He certainly... His goal kicking's really improved this year, and his accuracy's been terrific. He's already kicked 2 today.
There's 9 goals, 1 coming into the season. Add 2 to his name, and maybe a third. No. But there's a pretty simple mark to O'Keefe, who's having a field day.
Well, Jono, I'm flabbergasted.
I am waiting for the replay to come up here, Ruzi, just so we can have a closer look at how O'Keefe was able to take this pretty much uncontested mark. We have a look here well, that's where you spoke about things going against you. There wasn't a lot in the free kick, but we see the long kick in here, and the amount of Melbourne players, there's 6 players around the contest there. That ball needs to go across the line.
Not only do they not punch it across the line, which is bad enough, then Ryan O'Keefe doesn't even have to go back and have a shot at goal. He just turns around, walks in and kicks it. And we saw the look on Mark Neal's face as that ball was going through it. He was absolutely disgusted, as he should be in the coach's box.
There's a good mark for Rivers. And they've been a bit better this quarter. They can't afford now for the Swans to cut them to ribbons some more late in the quarter. It's 4-3 to 1-1. At least they've scored a goal, and contested possession has been close-ish. And they've won the clearances for the term. Sylvia to Watts. Hard lead in the middle, bit of an intersection though from the lines. Howe couldn't get there. Dennis Lane did. Doesn't make them pay.
He had 2 free players there, 2 forward to centre, and just to drop the kick a bit short.
Morton has it knocked away. Mattner, and they can set up again, the Swans. Look at the space for Melcheski to show his craft and skills. Drives his ball. Bartram there to take that advantage. Now
Got
Rivers,
the overlap here, big opportunity. Garland can get and go.
and he's got to see Jara. He does. So it's taken a little while for them to get it to the wing.
I'll tell you what, though, the work rate of the Swans there was exceptional. There's
That's
about
been a
3
highlight.
players there.
The man of the mark all year to slow the opposition down has been excellent.
Jara goes all the way back. Almost a fullback to Frawley.
This is where they've been very good, the Swans. They've made them go back and kick over the man on the mark. They've been rounding those blokes up all night.
So Watts has got it, committed to going on, looking for help. It's provided by Grimes.
You're right, Pickers. The way the Swans have adjusted as the Demons have brought the ball outside 50. This is about their 4th or 5th attempt in a row to get it outside 50.
Morton to Clark. He can go short again to Morton, who's kept on coming, but decides a longer, more ambitious target. Jara. Again, they meet from both angles. Jones already kicked one. Maloney had a little glance. Needed to look a little longer. It's out of bounds.
Yeah, those little things again, John. Maloney normally kicked that goal.
Kick through it.
But once again, just that little lack of confidence, that seed of doubt sort of goes through your mind before you kick it.
Jamar. O'Keefe. His tally mounts some more. Up to 20 now, please. Is there an opening for him? He's rounded all the way back. Kicks it outside 50, but finds a good man. Co-captain Grimes Swings it into the middle, and a little bit of an opening there with a launch. Frawley bangs it. Jara didn't have a lot of run up, but he almost got onto the end of the footy. Well, he came.
Oh, it's a shame. If Frawley's a left footer, they spot up an easy target on that occasion.
Now it's up to the Melbourne players to find a direct opponent, and hopefully for them to slow the ball movement down. They've got to work harder, make sure there's no free Swans players, make it hard for them to get out, as the Swans have done when Melbourne have tried to bring the ball out of their 50. That's better. That's much better from the Demons. Stop them from getting up to the wing. That's the stuff they've really got to work on in this back end of this game.
Ball nearly hit me in the big snorer.
Jamar, good follow-up work. Battled it on to Gallen. He's tried hard this afternoon. Pike got down and dirty. Hanbury trying to be creative again. O'Keefe, number 21. Parker.
A good effort by Mike Pike there. Got out-rucked and then he just followed up, laid a nice smother on the ball, and that's the effort level we've seen from all the Swans this evening.
There's been a lot of talk about Jack Watts this year. He's had 17 disposals in this game. Whereas his second half, he's going to play next week. His form tonight has been very good. He's been proactive in his movement, used the ball quite well. But do you throw him back to a forward line, or do you just leave him back there just to rack up 30 disposals so he goes away with some confidence about himself?
Yeah, I think you do. I think it'd be great for his confidence to come away with a 30-possession game. Now, you take a little out of that, to be honest, maybe it's going to be a big loss, but I think it's worth it. I think for him, #1 draft pick, a lot of pressure on him. If he can get a 30-possession game and use the ball as he has, it gives him a lot of confidence moving forward.
Well, that was pretty good ball use in tight by the Demons to eventually get it out through McDonald. Gains them 40 metres.
Yeah, they just haven't been able to translate that, though, into forward entries, have they? They've done some nicer hands this quarter. They've been a little bit more constructive around the clearances, but this is it again, just the quick kicks going forward. They haven't translated into scoring opportunities.
How have you assessed Liam Jara today so far? He's had 10 disposals.
Yeah, he's had to work up the ground a fair way to win those disposals. But look, for me, Richards and Grundy have become such a dominant combination, defensive combination in the competition. And you add Johnson into there, who certainly helped out. All of a sudden it frees up Shaw and Matner and a few other guys and Malcheski to create some good run.
And those Swans defenders you talked about, Richards and Grundy, so forth, they haven't had a lot of the ball in the last few weeks. They've had to been really busy minding men and being true old-fashioned defenders, Ruzi, which has given them a lot less drive.
Yeah, absolutely. They were certainly worried last week against the Tigers with the Tigers' ball use. Not this evening.
No, not this evening, unfortunately. As far as Melbourne fans are concerned, the Swans getting right back to their best. 11-4-70 at halftime. The headaches continue for Mark Neal. Just the one goal in the first half of football.